All right, what's going on, everyone? We are working on this painting called Two Ladies Enjoying Apples in the Garden of Eden. And this painting is one that I've been working on for a few days now. I did mostly drawing yesterday, but I didn't let's see. We're going to get started here in just a moment. What is up, Omizu, dude? Did I add anything to this song? You the Last Live? Did I add anything to this song, Me the Last Live? Autocorrect is on point today. Yes. Oh, did I add anything to this painting since the last live is what I'm guessing you're saying. No, so the last live was 2 days ago. Can't just say it. Tell me to be quiet.
No. I want you to look at the shirt.
Oh. Green and blue. Green and blue.
This isn't green.
No, I'm thinking either green or in blue. Sorry, so my partner's asking me what color shirt she should wear. You know what? I think go with the second one that you showed me. The second, like...
The green one?
Yeah, the second green one. Because I think it's got like a Western, like a Western lady vibe.
Really?
Like I eat a Cracker Barrel.
Okay, I thought they were in the South.
I don't know.
I got another.
Well, either that one, yeah, I think that's good. So Kat has a big meeting today with a really great talent agency. So she's trying to find the right clothes to wear, and she's asking my advice. So, and then I need to update the stream. But to paint is to be free. That is the idea, and that is the idea for today. So to paint is to be free. I mean, I could say that about to draw, to sculpt, to whatever. But you know what? I do feel like there's other crafts where if you do them, for example, like, sculpting, you really are limited to like how well you can actually, knock on the block. Or like if you're, drawing for the most part, if you're trying to draw like accurately or something, sometimes you're limited to form, right? And I'm not trying to make a debate of like what's the most free and expressive art form here, but I'm just trying to come up with a thesis and support it of why painting is so freeing compared to other ones. So if you want to turn it into a debate, you can. I'm totally open to altering opinions and other ideas. So feel free to share those. But hey, if you agree with me, I will like you more. Just kidding. You don't have to agree with me for me to like you. But it sure helps. Haha. All right, so here we go. Getting our gloves on, removing some of our materials, and yeah, so Mizu wishes you the best, Kat. So Kat says thank you, Mizu. Yes, thank you for being here for us and supporting us through all the different things. But yeah, Kat's got a big meeting today. We're totally excited for her. It's gonna help her, really, really push her career forward. It's gonna be really great for her. And and you know, I'm so sure that, you know, I don't want to over talk it up, but you know, I think she's got a good chance. She's in a great category. So anyway, autocorrect on point. Yes. So we haven't added anything since 2 streams ago. And you know what? I think I've reached a point now where I was listening to this podcast or this audiobook today. It's called The Art Spirit by Robert Henry. And it was saying how there's this way of doing a course. There's this way of like teaching figure drawing where there's a room with the model and there's a room where you go to work, and you're not allowed to, you have to go back and forth between the model and the room where you actually do the work. And that forces you to remove the over dependence on what you see versus what you can express. So, yeah, no, I mean, looks great. I mean, it all looks great on you.
Oh,
It all looks great on you.
this looks brighter.
Yeah, I mean, that looks more pop. That looks more like, I mean, it looks skinny, which is kind of cool. I don't know, what look do you want to, like the other one, because of its like form, I feel like could be very like your category, which you get booked for a lot of stuff like Karen, Trailer Park Lady.
Oh, really? Okay.
You know, you get a lot of auditions for that. So maybe, I don't know, I think the other, by the way, in the industry, you can talk about this stuff, like categories of people, but any other time I would not. Anyway, I don't know, but that it's good. I mean, I can't stop staring at your your boobs. Keep staring at your boobs.
That's a good thing. Maybe I should wear this.
No, obviously that's not, you know, what you want, but yeah, I mean, it's this one or the second one, I think. So it's great. It fits you well. It gives you great shape, form. I think the other one wouldn't really give your body the best look. I think this one presents your body very well.
Okay.
Your physique, which is fantastic.
Thank you.
All right.
I could also
Emmett's a boob man. I guess so, yes.
I could tuck it in.
Yeah.
With a belt.
Yeah. There you go. Accessorize. All right. So let's get started. We've got our supplies open. Very, very cool. Very, yes. So. Did you say should I wear a jacket? Yeah, you could. So here's a couple things I need to do. I think I need to fix this space. There needs to be some space in here. So let's just try to find some highlights and then to reduce this forearm area. So let's see, what kind of brush should we use? I think this the top of the head here can use some improvements. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna improve the top of the head by finding some nice shape here. But Omizu, what have you been up to, man? How's your or just a boob? So what's up with you, man? What's the latest? So this head is definitely too big, and I want to bring this around the ears here. Around the head, we're gonna go, and then we're gonna pretend like the ears are covered on these figures. Actually, I probably should have just. What shall I do? Let me modify this chest area. And we're gonna go in with this. We're gonna redden the rest of this part right here. Pookie, you gotta go. Working how to make some minor revisions and illustrations, and you hope these are the last of them. All right, man. Well, fantastic. Sounds like things are finally moving along, and that's awesome. Congratulations on finishing a project. It must be really nice to finally, wrap up a project that you've been working on so hard for so long. So congrats on that. Anybody who needs a fantastic illustrator, Omizu is here. Fantastic artiste who also happens to illustrate for books. So wonderful, wonderful. Fantastic, awesome. Let's add some color into this. And I'm no longer using my reference, so this is going to create a much different look, and maybe, it becomes inaccurate, but you know what? We will make it work. You're on your lunch break. Hey, well, thanks for popping in on your lunch break. It's very exciting. So I want to add some reds and pinks into the leg area here. Some pinks and whites to our leg space. And just to capture this naturalness of the female body here. Let's grab some oranges and give some hair. Some natural hair down here. We're going to add some yellow highlights onto this hair. And then we're going to go.
It's 11:24 a.m.
We're going to try to reduce this by adding some blues. Let's try to add some blue shadow along the top of the leg here. There we go. Get some shadow on this leg. It's nice because this painting's dried so far, so I can start to do different things to it. It just becomes easier. This golden area. And of course, we're gonna add a darkened area on our other figure here. Nice darkened area around this space here. Her hair is gonna have just capturing the natural beauty of feminine beauty of two ladies enjoying apples in the Garden of Eden. Two ladies, so I finally decided on a name. Some of you were part of the poll. Can I make them wear clothes? I can, but I'm not going to. So this is actually based on a drawing by a guy named Crispin Vandenbroek. Crispin Vandenbroek is a Flemish artist from 1575, and it's supposed to reflect the humanity prior to the invention of clothes. So not only would clothes not make sense, but because they weren't invented yet, but also would not reflect on what it wouldn't reflect accurately. So there we go. That's the reason why I'm not going to put clothes. You once tried painting an elephant and ended up with a pig. Hey, sometimes that happens. You know, nothing wrong with that. It's all about what you do with that. That totally matters, right? So what did you end up doing with that? Do you have a story to share? You have like, you know, did you cry? Or did someone make fun of you and you quit art forever? Did you sell it for $1,000? I don't know. What did you actually do with that thing that happened? I saw so there's a couple artists, like art buyers who I follow on Instagram. Steve Red Glasses. And you know what's funny is he bought an exact painting of a cow that looked like a pig. It's just a big old painting. It's like 6 feet. This painting is only 20 by 24, so 2 feet by almost 2 feet. So imagine 3 times the size. So this guy named Steve Red Glasses goes to all these big art events and buys these really nice paintings or just compelling artwork. And one of the pieces was just a cow that looked like a pig. And he paid like $10,000 for it. And you know, here's the even more interesting part was the artist. Like that was probably the most expensive and first time at this art event, and he was able to sell this piece. So you know, there's a reason to be optimistic about your painting of cows that look like pigs. I guarantee that there's a reason to be optimistic about it, and you know, don't despair. Don't despair for your. No need to despair, friend. Your life is not over because you painted a cow that looks like a pig. In fact, your life is just beginning now that we're having this conversation. Your creations are just beginning. You're just beginning, my friend. So, Parth Argawal, or elephant. I said cow. But anyway, you get the idea, right? So adding some blush into our figure here. So here's an interesting thing. The other day I posted this on TikTok, and I actually got a violation, a community guides violation warning on TikTok. And then I appealed it, and it turns out that, of course, fine art, as far as nudity goes, is acceptable. So I don't know what it flagged in the first place, but I appealed it, and they accepted it. So, and you know, I think this is different than like, you know, painting nudes for just gratuitously. And then, you know, there's like a way to do it, is my guess. If I had to guess of why it's some nude art is allowed, but not all nude art, is, you know, there's gratuitous depictions, and then there's classical depictions that have been transformed a bit. So that's what my guess is as far as this piece goes. And yeah, I was actually kind of concerned at first because of TikTok, my little TikTok warning. I was a little concerned, but fortunately it was not an issue. So yes, you caught that. Yes, you did. You caught it. That is exactly what I was going for. So I need to adjust this area of the head. Her hair looks a little too big, but maybe I can, like, you know, modify it into some sort of bun. So we'll see. Let me try to do some coverage in the back of the head here. Behind the head, I want to add some of this like this blue aura. A little bit of blue here, just to shape the head and form the clouds a bit. You all right, Kat?
Yeah. I'm really tired.
Well, you've been, you know, it's okay. You're recovering.
I know, but I have to drive.
Are you not? Are you not able to?
I don't know. Try.
Huh?
I should be okay.
You sure? Do you want me to drive? Huh?
I don't know.
Yeah, but how do you feel?
I'm kind of worn out.
What?
Thanks for offering.
Are you sure? This is important. I'll do it if you need me to. Huh? What?
Let me see how I feel.
The couch matches the recliner. Yep. But that's the point. The things must reflect. So, anyways, I think that's a good discussion, though. What separates a fine art nude for the sake of fine art versus nude that, as far as painting goes? Like, if you're painting, when does the painting become, overly gratuitous that social media should block it? And, when should it be acceptable? Which in this case, according to, I think even YouTube had said that this was said on my last stream that that it was not suitable for all advertisements, which, whatever. But as far as TikTok goes, like what TikTok the AI got, and then what the appeal was. Maybe I need a bigger brush for this. The appeal results. That was an interesting thing. So when does it become gratuitous, and when is it simply just, fine art? It's an interesting, little gap there, right? Interesting gap to think about. So we're just creating a little bit of an environment. I don't want to overdo my background here. So I was listening to Robert Henry. He was saying sometimes, people overdo their backgrounds, and that can create that can be too much. So I don't want to oversaturate it with too many bright colors, but I do want at least a little bit of contrast. A little bit of contrast is nice, right? I'm gonna go blue down into here. And we're not gonna get too tight as far as going, with the blues. We're gonna keep some reds and all that. It kind of looks like water, like a watery mountain in the background. I'm not sure how I'm going to adjust it. I probably should have just used a warm color and did that. Maybe, let's see, how can we adjust this with some reds? Maybe we can make it more purple here. There we go. This is how I fix mistakes, just like on the spot, finding colors, and eventually I'll paint over the top here.
Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 11:36 a.m.
let's see, we're gonna blend this red into this red into our blue, which is gonna ultimately form like a purple. And let's allow some of these clouds to get like a yellow. We're gonna allow some of these clouds, or this sky formation to form like a yellow. And we're just gonna blend that into the background. And try to make this area feel more natural. It doesn't have to totally be like, you know, perfect for me, but you just want it to have just like a nice composition, I guess, is a better term. Because what I'm seeing here is like there's like these layers that kind of like are confusing. So if I can just modify some of the layers a little bit, I think we can create something nice. But if I don't create the layer, and I think the most challenging part is going to be right around this head. So let's see what I can do adding this green back in here. I'm going to add some green. Oh, there we go. A nice green, yellow, and try to find our need to dull the green a little bit. What's a good color to dull a green? A red. A little bit of a red and yellow. Let's just dull this green a little bit. And I think it's a good contrast with her hair. And then now I can actually just use this green to fill in the background a little bit. Fill in the space. Use this green to a much duller green. I think the shape of her head looks good now. Red oxide. Yeah, I have a quinacridone rose, so I use that. I don't think I have a red oxide. But thank you for the suggestion, Nomizu. Your input is always welcome. Always welcome. Except for when it's not. It's always welcome except for when it's not. Which is, you know, as a human being, I'm unpredictable, as all human beings are. So it's just, you know, sometimes it is. That's why sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. But let's see what we want to do here as far as the landscape. We're going to go, you know, we're going to fade this green and just add like different textures across this field here. And try to make it feel like natural flows of color. Natural flows of color. I actually like where the landscape is now. It kind of doesn't make perfect sense. Like if I was to judge it based on like how accurate it was, like compared to lighting and all that, I would probably give it like a D or an F. But if I was to judge it based on how it looks, just visually appears, I'd probably give it an A. I'm giving myself an A, people. Are you allowed to do that? Can you give yourself good grades? That's how school should be, right? Everyone should just grade themselves. That would be the perfect school, right? Like at the end of the year, a student works as hard as they want, and then they're allowed to give themselves their own grade. The only way, like, how could we design a school system, just for the sake of like discussion here? Obviously, you know, a lot of changes are happening with the school system in America right now. I have lots of friends who do homeschooling. You know, it's a very common thing now. So like, let's just say the school system was designed in a fictional universe where kids were allowed to give themselves their own grades. How would this be designable in a way where, like, you know, the worst kids or the kids that try the least don't, you know, just automatically, like, you know, how can we still keep it a meritocracy, keep things meritocratic, where, you know, the students who might lack confidence but have brilliant knowledge, that they don't suffer, Whereas, you know, the students who have confidence, but or just like fake bravado as far as um, their schooling, how do they, you know, how do you make a balance? How do you make it meritocratic? Tiger Morph, let's be honest, I didn't want to paint pen eyes. You know, Tiger Morph, you're almost right. But here's the thing: is this painting would have never had that in the first place because it would have been covered up. If you saw my last painting, it totally would have been covered up by a fig leaf. But yes, at one point I did have a choice. I was like looking at this and I was like, I can either make it 2 men or I can make it 2 women. And I just decided that, you know, as far as what I would thought would be more interesting, just in my opinion, in my opinion of painting, you know, what I would be more interested painting, which will ultimately reflect in the final product, is the painting of 2 women in the Garden of Eden. So yes, to an extent, you're correct. I'm not. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna hide. There's no hiding it. Yeah.
I'm gonna go out and see if my phone is in the
All right. So yes, that is something I'm not gonna bother to hide, my friend. You caught me. You caught me blue-handed. That my preference for what I would have liked to paint. And you know what? I think it creates a more interesting story when it's 2 ladies enjoying apples in the Garden of Eden. Let me see. I want to reduce the vibrance of this cloud here. Bring some of the yellow in. I don't actually know how clouds work. I should probably study that one day. But like, you know, bring in the yellow here. Why is it so dark in this area? I don't know. That doesn't make sense. So let's try to find a way to. Is Riot, what's going on? Arms are turning out pretty nice. Thank you. All I had to do was make. Yes. Yeah, you know, I'm comfortable with having longer distorted arms and legs. It's when they look like really totally oddly disproportionate that I really have my issue. And I think the big issue is this was I felt this arm was too short. This arm actually originally cut off right here. You can't actually see that from that angle, but like right, you know, I added an extra centimeter of arm length to this arm. And that was the issue I really had, was the length of this arm initially. But thanks for, you know, noticing other things. Sometimes you need another eye to see things. You know, sometimes it's good to have another eye. Actually, you know what? It's always good to have like another eye, right? Like, who doesn't like to get opinions on their artwork? I don't know. I mean, of course, everyone prefers positive opinions, but like, you know, the reality is not everyone gets positive opinions.
Hi, Scout. Oh, I'm waiting for you to drive me.
Okay, when?
I don't know. I can't find my phone, so I can't find the address. I can't GPS it. I have the phone. I have the headphones. I'm in the car.
Raya says, coming here is so breathtaking. Oh, Raya, thank you.
Oh, here it is.
I'm taking people's breaths away.
It just blends in.
Well, I hope that you know, you're able to carry that forward and, you know, do some wonderful things with that positive energy and effect there. So let's bring a little bit more hair. So for those of you that aren't on my Instagram, you know, I usually write a lot on my Instagrams and stuff, or even on my YouTube. I try to copy every post that I do on Instagram and my YouTube. But you know, I did have a poll for this as to what the name was going to be, and I have decided on the name. So you know, I haven't closed the poll yet, but the name is going to be Two Ladies Enjoying Apples in the Garden of Eden. So that is the final name of this painting. Those of you that shared your opinions, thank you so much. But I actually even added to what I thought the original title was going to be, was just Two Ladies Enjoying Apples. But I do like adding that it's the Garden of Eden so that we don't, you know, mix it up. But here's what's pretty cool. So last night I was on ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT to analyze my painting. So I gave it like an image of my painting here, and I asked it to analyze it, and they're like, oh, there's two, you know, it actually knew that this was the Garden of Eden. So I think that's a good thing, right? Like, if AI knows what you're trying to do, it's probably a good thing. It's positive.
Okay, it's 48 minutes to get there.
So when do you want to leave? What do I think of references for painting?
In 10 minutes?
Okay, yeah.
Which I'm gonna-
Yes, this is the picture that the subscribers voted on name. So Tiger Morph asks, what do I think of references for painting? So this entire painting is based on a reference. You can actually look it up. The reference title is Eve Tempting Adam. So originally this was Eve and this was Adam, but I decided to make this a woman, which, you know, I had to adjust some of the body parts, but you know, pretty much fairly similar. And with that, you can look it up. It's by an artist named Crispin Vandenbroek. So Crispin, Crispijn. I don't actually know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's Flemish. So Crispijn, Van, Vandenbroek. So Crispin Vandenbroek. I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's being pronounced right, but he made this drawing back in the 1500s, and it's actually, you know, he made a series of drawings about the about these references, right? The tempting of Adam, the tempting of Adam, etc. And basically, I decided to turn them into paintings. He did drawings, he never turned them into paintings. So that's what I've decided to do. And let me add some darker, let me make this a little darker. We're gonna grab our green, bring it into our black. We're gonna darken this space a little bit. I want to fade it. So yes, this is a reference. However, I will say I'm not using a reference anymore. So as of this morning, I was at the gym and I listened to a audiobook by an artist named Robert Henry. And in this audiobook, Robert was talking about this really interesting art activity where you paint with the model, and the model is in one room and you go in another room to actually do the painting. So this forces you to study the model and then find your own way of expressing the idea. So that actually inspired me at this point to not depend on the reference, because at this point I've already gotten the figures. I just need to pretty much you know, just like make up all the colors and stuff at this point. Figure out the colors, come up with my own designs, you know, things like that. And there we have it. So, you know, fortunately, I'm not tied to the reference anymore. At this point, I'm free of the reference, and I can just go do what I've wanted to do. or not do what I want to do, but like, you know, do an interpretation of everything. Oh, what happened? What changed everything? No, I had to erase. I had to get rid of some of this in here because it just in here because it was like feeling kind of off. So, anyway, I'm gonna try to leave it somewhat like flowy into here, but there's a couple more details I need to tighten up, like on the face. And I'm gonna have to leave in a minute. So exciting! So Kat's got a big meeting with a big time agent, talent agent in Los Angeles. But she hasn't been feeling herself the past couple days, so I'm gonna go drag her to this exciting meeting. And big career moves, people. How exciting! I hope everyone's getting some exciting meetings. If you're not, how can you find an exciting meeting? That is the question. You know, who today can you reach out to that would like be helpful to meet? It's a good question. With the strong blue around the hand, it was very interesting. Oh, it's not there anymore? You don't think? well, well, the reason why I did this is because I needed to shape the arm. The arm was like a little bit of a weird shape. But let me try to find some contrast in the face right now. I'm going to try to, not try, I'm going to bring in some highlights to bring down a nose here. And let's see, so right down here. And try to make this color consistent across. A button nose here. And then make this color somewhat consistent. Just a tiny bit of detail, not too much. And then bring in some reds to give some color to the cheeks here. Should have got some color on that cheek, so let's add color into this cheek right around here. Maybe some color into the forehead and that cheek. I do like keeping it fairly red, so we'll give her some of the red color. Let's brighten up this nose here. They both have noses, of course. Let's try to find just a hint of shadow to help separate the nose. And let's try to alternate between a cool color and a warm color. This blue, I am using a tiny brush. Let's see. So you can compare it to the size of my hair. It's a tiny brush. I'm using a very small brush. Let's see if we can find our pinks again. I don't like how I did the blue on this figure, so we're gonna try to find back some of our color here. Let's see if I can add a dot, add a blue dot into each of their eyes here. I might be risking, I don't mind if this figure is looking kind of like down and like her eyes are kind of closed, but this figure I feel like should have just a little bit of an eye. My brushes rarely ever work the way I want them to. So those eyes look pretty bad, but let's see how we can... Here, let me show you these eyes right now. Let me show you these figures up close so you can see. So there's something around it. You definitely see what's going on here. Eyes are a little bit whacked. This one with her eyes closed is okay because she's like, you know, looking at her. But at this point, I do need to adjust these eyes, and I'm going to use an even smaller brush here. Use a super fine detail brush. We're going to try to find the whites and then round out. And then we're going to call it a done for now. We're going to take a little break. Go do that very, very important meeting today to celebrate Kat's exciting new adventure. So we're going to round out this eye. You know, I'm just going to give her blue eyes. Like her whole eye is going to be blue. That's it. We've done it. These crystal blue eyes. Or maybe let me add a little highlight. Now we're going to pull a Amedeo Modigliani, who ended up making lots of his figures just have like these, have some of these like totally pure colored eyes. Okay, let's try one more time. I'm going to try one more time, and then I might just have to leave it. But when I say try one more time, I'm just going to dot the eye with just a really bright, really thick dash of blue. And see if it'll work with this brush. If not...
Babe?
Yeah. Ah, this brush. Cool. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Give me 2 minutes. Ah. Yep. Looks like we're gonna have to do a Modigliani and just keep her eyes like, you know, this like. Just make them big. Make big blue eyes. Almost alien-like. I very much admire anyone who can paint really, really small eyes. They are gifted. My goodness. Very, very gifted people. But seen better days. Is this symbolic? impressionism, or is it symbolic impressionism? Whew. My goodness, Tiger Morph asking the very artsy, curatorial questions. My goodness, it's nice. It's nice to have like you know, artists to stream for, and have conversations with, because they ask you the hard questions. Like, what is this? I don't know, honestly. Yeah, I would say it's part impressionism. You know, I definitely think it takes more from artists of the 1800s than it does of artists today. Because you know, it's not quite, you know, flat the way the, what do you call those guys? The impeccabilists, or there's a term for people who, Alexa, what is a synonym for impeccable?
Synonyms for impeccable meaning above suspicion, flawless, include precise, unblemished, or exquisite.
Alexa, keep going. Oh, Alexa, off. The Immaculates. So there's a group of artists called the Immaculates. And basically, you know, anytime you see like a hard edge painting that, you know, the edges are so clean, they were done with tape, you know, that would be, I guess, a form of painting by the Immaculates. So, you know, it's not like that, which I think is very modern compared to, you know, the 1800s artists. So it's not quite an immaculate art piece, but it's not quite like impressionist either, you know. It's and it definitely has the like imperfect figurativeness of modern art, you know. Like, sometimes you go to a gallery and you see some figure drawings and you're like, those are just some of the worst figure drawings ever, but those artists are still represented by the galleries. And I think it's a modern thing. But yeah, I mean, call it what you want. Symbolism for sure. I mean, there's definitely symbolism here, not necessarily by my own doing. You know, definitely symbolism as far as the snake goes. But I gotta wrap up because we got some important people to see, important things to do. Y'all are very important to me too, by the way. All of you are very important to me too, but I have to help Kat out for her to meet some important people. And they're not more important than you, of course. It's just she needs help, so I'm gonna go help her. Have a good rest of the day, everyone. Yes, for sure. I will be back as soon as when we get back. I will paint later tonight, but I'm glad I at least got some of these things out of the way. And you know, I think the overall composition is good now. Some of the details and the composition is good now. You know, right? Like, does anyone? What are some things? If you know, what are some things? Everybody, feel free to point out like things that you're like that. You would totally change this or that. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Like anything you would totally change? I do. So some notes for myself. I gotta add some detail onto this limb right here, this tree limb. But other than that, some detail on the tree limb, the snake. Improve these hands. I don't really care about the toes too much. Maybe add a couple more fine details, but you know, does this express the idea? I think so. Could it be better painted? Yes. What are the most important details? But hey, open to feedback. Anyone feels like there's anything specific that's like, I would never do it like that. I would totally change that once I get back to it. Feel free to share. I'm totally open to ideas, inspirations. Heck, maybe you just want to troll right now and you just want to be like, this is the worst painting ever. Get that out of your system. You know, even people that I like are open to do that right now. If you want to, you know, if you want to unleash your anger on this painting, feel free to do so. You know, sometimes it's good to have like a place to just let out all your frustrations. And sadly, you know, most people have to do that anonymously. But isn't it wonderful when you can just do it like, you know, publicly? And just allow yourself to be yourself. But we all know everybody here is of a high vibrations with great positive energy. So you wouldn't even think of doing stuff like that. All right. I love these eyes. They're like these eyes are like laser, like blue laser beams right now. Like blue laser beams. I like it. Potter do. You go more dark. You don't crap on works that are not finished. It's not finished. That's funny because I feel like it's almost finished. So I don't know if that was a poke or if that was actually like what you thought. But anyway, either way, it's cool. So with that, hope you're all gonna do great. You all will do great. I don't hope you're all gonna do great. Everyone's gonna do great. And we're gonna take a break here. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for the few while that I was here. Safe for now. Okay.